Welcome back to another episode of Cultivate CNY. I'm your host, Alex Canavan, and today's episode is a special one. Every year, I carve out intentional time to reflect, recalibrate, and redesign how I want to move through the world. Not just as a founder or creator or a leader, but as a human being navigating growth, transition, and ambition. And this year, that process definitely hit different. Before we dive in, though, I want to share a quick announcement. We're officially opening up sponsorship opportunities for the show in 2026. So if you're a brand, business, or organization looking to get in front of a highly engaged audience of professionals and leaders across Central New York, or if you're interested in being featured as a guest, you can reach out directly at partnerships@cnywomensnetwork.com. We'd love to chat and see if there's a good fit. We're also currently in conversation with brand partners for all of our 2026 events and initiatives, including the 5th annual CNY Women's Summit, the CNY Women's Walking Club, and my newest favorite initiative that we just launched in 2025, the Supper Club. These partnerships help us continue to create meaningful experiences, amplify local leaders, and strengthen the ecosystem we're building here right in Central New York. So if you want to align your brand with this mission, now is the perfect time to connect. Just shoot us an email at partnerships@cnywomensnetwork.com to get the conversation started. So in this episode, I'm going to be taking you behind the scenes. We're going to be talking about what 2025 actually looked like for me, the wins, the lessons, the pivots, the things I let go of, and the growth that surprised me. I'm also going to be answering some frequently asked questions I get asked about the business, the network, the podcast, my own leadership journey, and what I'm taking with me into 2026. But before all of that, I'm going to be sharing a framework, something I've used quietly throughout this entire year that's completely shifted how I make decisions. This framework is for intentional decision making, and honestly, it's the reason why my 2026 word of the year came so easily. And then at the end, I'm going to be revealing my word of the year, which I've already said, the one that's going to be anchoring everything I build in 2026 and introducing a brand new tool that I created for those of you who want to design a year with more clarity, confidence, and purpose. So if you're entering 2026 wanting more alignment, more direction, or simply more of yourself in the choices that you make, you're in exactly the right place. So thanks for tuning in today. All right, with that being said, let's get into today's episode. Okay, so before I dive into some of my own personal reflections on 2025 and the Q&A, I want to share a framework that has shaped so many of my decisions this year. And honestly, it's the reason why my word for 2026 is going to be intentional. This is something I've been using quietly behind the scenes as I navigate leadership, business growth, relationships, and just the general chaos of being an ambitious person in a fast-moving world. We're going to call this the high performers framework for intentional decision making. There's going to be 5 core principles, and I'm going to get into them right now. So the first one is deciding from vision, not fear. Most of us think that we're making decisions based on what we want, but if we're being honest, we often choose based on what feels the safest. A lot of us are more worried about disappointing someone, missing out, being left behind, or being let go than we are worried about the things that we actually want to attract in our lives. So when you make decisions based out of fear, your life actually gets smaller. But when you make decisions from vision, your life completely expands. One of the questions I ask myself now is, does this decision make me move closer to the person I'm becoming or keep me tied to the person I used to be? Usually the answer is pretty clear. And I obviously choose to go in the direction of who I want to become. All right, now we have number 2. And this is all about the trade-offs of ambition. We need to choose wisely here, okay? Because our most valuable asset is our time. And ambition always has a cost. When you are an ambitious person, whether you're an entrepreneur, a leader, whatever you want to call yourself, it's easy to get pulled in a million different directions because the opportunities are endless. But every yes has a consequence. Every no creates space. So you get to decide, what do you want to create? High performers love to believe that we can do it all, but intentional leaders know that they shouldn't do it all. The real skill here is recognizing, what is this opportunity going to cost me? And is that trade-off aligned with where I'm headed? Sometimes the trade-off is worth it. Sometimes it's not. Both answers are equally important. Number 3, we're going to prioritize what truly matters season by season. We have different priorities at different times of the year, different times in our lives. That's why it's important to recognize what season you're in. There will be seasons where growth is the priority, seasons where relationships are the priority, seasons where rest is a non-negotiable, seasons where you're building, and seasons where you are breaking it down. Intentional decisions require acknowledging what season am I actually in right now? Not the season you wish you were in right now, not the one people expect you to be in right now, but what season are you actually in? Prioritize that more than anything else. Number 4, we're going to identify our misaligned commitments and create space. This is a big one, especially for people who are generous, community-oriented, or just simply high-achieving individuals. We often hold on to commitments long after they've stopped serving us simply because we've said yes. We don't want to inconvenience anyone. We want to be responsible people that never go back on our word. But misaligned commitments drain your energy, your creativity, and your confidence. Most importantly, your time. So a question I've asked myself a lot this year is, if I hadn't already said yes to this, would I say yes today? If the answer is no, it's misaligned. And misaligned commitments don't just take your time, they take your future, which is the most important thing, right? We're talking about 2026 here. Creating space is not quitting, it's real leadership. So choose wisely. Number 5 is owning your next move with clarity and confidence. High performers get stuck when they think they need permission. Intentional leaders understand that clarity comes from action, not overthinking. Owning your next move doesn't mean having a perfect plan. It means taking a confident step in a direction that aligns with who you are and who you're becoming. Every chapter of growth begins with one decision. I trust myself enough to lead. And when you operate from that place, when your decisions come from vision, aligned trade-offs, seasonal priorities, and clarity around what no longer fits, everything in your life becomes more intentional. So this framework that I just shared is what guided me through every major decision I made this year in business and my personal life. And when I look back on 2025 through this lens, it makes all the highs, the lows, and the lessons and the growth feel so much clearer. So before I jump into Q&A, I want to share a bit about what this year actually was like for me, both personally and professionally, because this year has shaped me in ways I never would have expected. 2025 for me was a year of truth. It was not an easy year, but it was an honest one. It was a year where I felt myself growing faster than the structures, relationships, and routines that I had built around me. It was a year of expansion, but also a year that required a lot of letting go. And I don't think we talk about that side of growth enough. Professionally, the year was incredible. We hosted over 60 events, grew our membership community, launched a supper club, created physical and digital products, leveled up our partnerships. We grew this show in ways that still blow my mind, and I feel really proud of the work that we produced and also the opportunities that we created for leaders across Central New York. But behind the scenes, this was also a year where I really had to learn what it means to be a leader, not just of a business, but of myself. 2025 challenged my capacity. It forced me to rethink how I work. It stretched me emotionally, creatively, and spiritually, which in turn required me to get brutally honest about what actually matters. I made decisions that were hard but protected my peace. I stopped softening myself to make other people more comfortable. I honored my intuition more than ever before, and that alone changed my entire life. This year also taught me how to show up in the middle of transition. I learned that you can be building and grieving at the same time. You can be expanding and releasing at the same time, and you can be proud and exhausted at the same time. 2025 was the year I realized I don't want a busy life. I want an intentional one. And that's what ultimately led me to my word of the year, intentional. But before I get to that, I want to share a few meaningful reflections through the Q&A lens, because I know so many of you can relate to seasons like this, and I don't do enough solo episodes like this. So here are some answers to your questions. What was your proudest moment in 2025? So I don't know if there's like a single moment I was proud of, but I feel like I'm just super proud of my own personal growth as a woman and as an adult and as a leader. something I've always struggled with is telling people the truth about how I feel, because not necessarily because I'm a deceptive person, but because I just have always had much more concern over other people's feelings than my own desires and my own feelings. So this was like the year that I learned how to say no and to let no be a complete sentence and not over explain myself or justify my saying no. Of course, I've said no with the most grace and respect as much as possible, but I'm just super proud of just the fact that I have finally started to live my life the way I've wanted to. So hopefully that answers the question. What grounded you this year? Okay, so I'm a big routine girl, and I have really gotten very serious about my habits this year. Now, I haven't completely gotten rid of all the habits we want to get rid of. Still have to work on that. But something that definitely grounded me this year was my fitness life, I could say. I got really into weightlifting this year. I got really serious about my training this year. And that has brought me so much peace and confidence that I have been able to carry into the rest of my life. And it's also given me a sense of groundedness that has given me the freedom to do all the hard things, to make all the hard decisions, to have all the hard conversations. I've learned a lot about myself through developing more healthy routines and habits this year. Another thing that's grounded me is my friends and the people around me. I feel like this year I really have been able to realize and feel the fruits of what it means to invest in your community and to build your community. I now have the community and the support system around me that I've always wanted. And I know 100% that every person in my life loves me for who I am with no expectations. Do you know what I mean? It's such a gift. I think about this every day and I tell my friends all the time how grateful I am for them. So I would say, yeah, my friends, my relationships, and my fitness life. And another area of life that I've developed over the last year that has certainly grounded me is my spiritual life. I've developed a consistent daily routine where I connect with my spiritual life and my spirituality, and that has brought me a huge sense of grounding and peace. Next question. What has challenged me? There's been lots of challenges. Oh my gosh. Where do I begin? I just simply think I'm challenged all the time. I think relationships are challenging. They're the most challenging. Navigating relationships, maintaining relationships, showing up for relationships is tough, especially when I recently heard a quote that said, success requires autonomy and happiness requires connection. And that really resonated because if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably interested in regional people, Central New York, the community, but I would hope that you're also someone that identifies as someone who's rather ambitious or, is interested in growth and development. So if you are of that mindset, then you understand that the hardest, most challenging thing is finding that happy balance between ambition and happiness and connection. So I think I definitely have found a good balance this year. I've had plenty of fun, especially in the last quarter of this year. I feel like I've had a ton of fun and I've really been able to lean into my relationships and feeling connected a heck of a lot more than I have ever felt. So I don't know if that answers the question about what challenged me, but I just think in general, I think we can all relate, is that most challenging thing is always probably relationships and communication. So I will be a forever student of those things. Last but not least, what has brought me joy in 2025? So many things. This show has brought me joy. All the amazing people around me that support what I'm doing and that are along for the ride, they bring me joy. I've found a lot of joy in travel and fitness. Again, that brings me a lot of joy. Are there any hobbies that I have outside of work and working out? Let's see. What else brings me joy? My dog brings me joy. And just, again, my friends. Like, I'm so, I don't know. I find joy in everything. Coffee brings me a lot of joy. Going to Pausa Coffee has brought me joy. We're doing work there. Going to Cafe Blue. So many things to be joyful about. Now I want to talk about what I'm going to be carrying into 2026. What are our goals? What's the vision? What's the intention? Keyword intention. Everything's going to be intentional this year. Let me tell you. I feel like I've spent the last almost 2.5 years building the CNY Women's Network, hosting this podcast, just spinning my wheels, man. We've just been going full throttle. It's been nonstop. And it's important, I think, when you're starting out to take whatever opportunity you can get and to say yes to everything. I'm total believer in paying your dues and showing up and working for free and doing what you got to do to build the brand. But we are at a point now in the business where the legs are under us, the table has been built, and the wheels are turning. And now more than ever, I'm realizing how crucial it is for every single second to be spent wisely. I feel like I have definitely not taken my own time as seriously as I should have. And I now am realizing that no matter how many sponsorships we're securing or how many tickets we're selling, the most valuable asset is definitely my time and my team's time. So if there's anything we're going to be in 2026, it's intentional. Okay. So how do I want to lead the network in 2026? I've been saying this lately, I want to lead from behind. I want to start figuring out how I can start pulling back as the face of the CNY Women's Network and start letting other people be the face of the CNY Women's Network. That was the vision from the beginning of all this, was I want to build a media network, a media company. That means that there needs to be so many more faces and voices behind our media channels. And in 2026, I'm going to make sure that that starts happening. So we're going to start doing this by implementing a really awesome ambassador program that we're going to be opening up for our members. And it's going to give our members the opportunity to, like I said, be the face of the CNY Women's Network, but to express themselves creatively, to get connected to some of our brand partners and attract opportunities. And hopefully maybe show up on this podcast. Who knows? But certainly we'll be showing up on the CNY Women's Network media channels a lot more often. In 2026, what does expansion look like? Okay, so we are definitely, our big goal this year is to expand outside of Central New York in more ways than one. I don't know if I'm going to have to rebrand and come up with a new name, but we are keeping the name. We are going to continue being the CNY Women's Network. But we're going to start hosting events outside of Central New York. We want to grow our membership community outside of Central New York because I have heard from people in other markets like Rochester, Buffalo, Albany, that they wish there was something like this there. And I know that what we have here is very special, and it's become this way because we've got a killer strategy. We've got great events lined up for 2026, and everything we put out is organic and authentic. And I know that's why it's been so successful here in Central New York, but I've also heard from our advisory board that we're kind of like, we're hitting that ceiling. I think that we can certainly increase membership here in Syracuse and Central New York, but I think it's time to start expanding, and we're going to be doing this very carefully and very strategically. So our event lineup for 2026 is killer. You're going to have to stay tuned for that. I'm not going to give you the full strategy here, but just know that we're going to be hosting supper clubs, which are my favorite new initiative that we just started here in 2025. These are like high ticket, high level networking events that are designed for women executives and women and growth stage entrepreneurs to come together and have really deep but really high level conversations, spanning from business to career development to leadership. And we're going to be hosting these supper clubs in target markets across the entire Center State region, and hopefully converting these new guests of ours into members and starting to elevate our virtual events so we can, obviously create value and create a space for all of our new members to get together consistently. And we have been hosting monthly community calls ever since we launched the Collective by CNY Women's Network. And these calls are hour-long topic-based calls where we usually have like a mini masterclass, and then we, engage and deepen our understanding of the topic through different breakout sessions. These calls have always been super well attended, and we host them month over month. And I think that this is a really valuable opportunity for women all across upstate New York to come together in community and to continue to develop their professional skills and learn and hear from really awesome speakers. So we are currently booking speakers for these calls and currently securing sponsors for these calls. But that being said, holla at your girl if you're interested in partnering with us on any of these calls or speaking. We're looking for really high level influential speakers to come in. They don't have to be from Central New York or from the Center State region. They can be from anywhere because these are virtual. We're really just looking to elevate the content this year and give the women in our network opportunities to connect and get inspired by people they otherwise would not have the opportunity to connect with. So that's just a little bit about what we've got planned for the growth in 2026. I'm so excited. This is going to be such a huge year for us. And last but not least, business-wise, how do we want the business to feel in 2026? So like I said, our word is intentional. But how are we going to feel intentional? I have 4 words here written down. This is how I want my business to feel in 2026. I want it to feel efficient. I want it to feel strategic. I want it to feel conscious, and I want it to feel unbreakable. That being said, we are putting our foot on the gas, and it's going to be an absolute whirlwind of a year. I'm so excited to get to work, and I'm excited for everything that's to come. Some of my personal intentions for 2026 include, I think I want every single relationship in my life to be intentional. I want to know that there's an equal give and take, and that I know that my time and energy is being spent wisely with these people. I want to continue to trust myself and have confidence in myself, to trust my intuition and continue having the hard conversations and advocating for myself in ways that I am just starting to be able to do. And then I want to get really, really clear on my boundaries and my capacity. I have always filled my plate up with all of the things, but I really realized this year how taking things away is really what allows me to have the amount of growth and the amount of fast growth as I'd prefer. And like I said, like for the last 2.5 years of building this, it's really been a lot of saying yes to the things that sound good and like also, throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. But this, I feel so much more clear on What sticks now? Now we have data, right? So definitely a lot more clarity and direction at this point. But I just want to stay true to that and take a pause before every decision I make in 2026. Okay, so leadership intentions for 2026. This is the last bit. I want to be a more intentional communicator. I need to communicate better. I need to communicate more. Okay. I need to be like, have a plan. I'm really good at showing up and winging it, but no more of that in 2026. Okay. We're being intentional, right? So I want to work smarter, not harder. I want to be present and grounded always, or at least as much as possible. And last but not least, this is my favorite. I want to create more than I consume in 2026. This is huge. So everything that I've shared today, from the reflection, the clarity, the lessons, the intentions, it all came from giving myself the space to slow down and actually design my life. I don't want to operate on autopilot anymore. I'm not reacting to pressure. I'm not chasing what I should want, but I'm choosing from vision. And I want the same for you. And I want you to walk into 2026 with intention, clarity, and direction, not overwhelm. So that's why I created the 2026 Vision Guide. The 2026 Vision Guide has the exact framework I use to review this year, reset my priorities, reconnect with my values, and create a vision that actually feels aligned with where I'm going. It's not a planner. It's not a workbook. It's not homework. It's just simply a tool for leaders with prompts for people who want to build 2026 into a year with purpose. So if you've been listening and thinking, I want 2026 to feel different, I want it to feel intentional, the 2026 Vision Guide is your roadmap. It's going to walk you step by step, reflecting on what's shaped you this year, reconnecting with your long-term vision, naming your priorities for the year ahead, and choosing the identity you want to step into. So if you're craving clarity, direction, or if you're craving a sense of grounding heading into the new year, this is the perfect step after today's episode. You can grab the 2026 Vision Guide using the link in the show notes. And truly, I hope it gives you the space to breathe, to reflect, and to build the year you actually want, because intention is everything. And I'm wishing you the most happiest, successful, most fruitful 2026. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope something I said resonates with you. And if it did, be sure to share this episode with someone you love. And I'll catch you next week. Bye. This podcast is produced by Diam Media Group, a video production company based in Syracuse, New York. If you'd like to work with Diam Media for your next big campaign, or maybe a podcast you'd like to get off the ground, head to diammedia.com to learn more. Until next time, I'm Alex Canavan, and I'll see you next Monday.